like to welcome Mitch Kapor.
Well, good morning. I need to change what I was going to say just a little bit in light of the last speaker. Knowing when the next bus is going to show up, actually, I use that application. It's a great application. There are 1,000 such applications that we ought to have, and a lot of the conference is about government as platform and how we can do that in a way that is innovative, is efficient, draws on the creativity of the people. But I was thinking to myself, there's got to be more to it than that, and that's what I wanted to talk about. And the last segment, most of which I saw from backstage, just reminded me that politics is unavoidable. We can all agree on transparency and openness, but at the end of the day, political ideas still matter. It still matters whether you believe everybody should have health care or not. Then we can talk about how to get it, and we can talk about how the current health care bill is doing, and I'm actually going to circle back to that. But it's partly about when is the next bus going to come application, and it's also about politics and what you believe is the right thing for the people of the country. And this is an interesting forum, bringing together lots of different people who have a common stake in how all that comes together. You know, I come from 30 years of watching and participating in innovative technology based on disruptive technology platforms. And to oversimplify for a minute, I think there are a couple of key characteristics that those platforms have had, from the PC to the internet to the World Wide Web, to Facebook, Twitter, the iPhone, and on. They're open, and their control is decentralized. Now, it varies in degree, and I don't have time in my 10 minutes to go into that, from somewhat open to extremely open, from somewhat decentralized to radically decentralized. But the fact of the matter is that when those platforms are both open and decentralized, and I might say Jeffersonian, you get this interesting set of results which people who've been in the industry are very familiar with. Lowering of barriers to entry, you get a flood of creativity, you get very surprising innovations, things that absolutely nobody predicted, from the spreadsheet to the success of open source, and you get ecosystems of enormous engagement and participation, blogs, social networks, Wikipedia, and the like. And not least of all, you get economic growth and efficiency. So we need more than that. We need more of that, and that's what my point is. Government shouldn't just be a provider of services. In my book, it should be a facilitator of creating a kind of a world where we can have more of that. All right, so how do you do that? A couple of ideas. I want to be a mild cognitive irritant today and try to inject a couple of ideas into the discussion. If you look at things like the success of Ethernet for local area networks, packet switching for the public network, Wi-Fi for wireless, and in fact, open source software, this is a slightly separate case, all of those things were based on the idea of shared resources, the idea that you can make more efficient use of a fixed set of resources if there are certain rules that are agreed to in advance about how they're going to be shared, and those rules create a kind of a self-managing sort of system. And that means it has very low overhead, and you don't need a government of Ethernet determining who gets to send their packets around the network when it's managed within the protocols. It's a wonderful thing. It led to the wonderful surprise of Wi-Fi, which after all in the spectrum was referred to as a junk band because nobody saw any value in it, which is why they were willing to have unlicensed spectrum based on a shared resource model. I think we need to be bold in our thinking, if we believe in the power of those kinds of things, about whether the management of other kinds of resources in land, air, water, space, transportation systems, urban space, mineral and energy deposits might be amenable to similar kinds of regimes of sharing. And when I made that note, I said, oh my God, do I want Glenn Beck to put me up there on the pantheon of Marxists who are saying we should kill private property? No, the internet was not a Marxist ideology. The internet came about because of a set of ideas about how you could actually do things better through cooperative sharing in a way that encourages individual initiative and rewards it. Let me give you a second idea. This has to do with the healthcare system. I should say I am a proponent of healthcare reform. I will personally probably be happy to support some kind of watered-down compromise as long as it extends coverage to more people. But I think that's not the point that I want to make here. Even with that, if that happens, and we'll know a lot more tonight, I think there's something off about a system of providing health care that is so disempowering to the individuals who are in it. I don't see anything in the current health care debate, or I shouldn't say anything, I see very little that speaks to how we're going to have a different system in which insurance companies don't have so much control and the healthcare providers don't have so much control, but people's health is more in their own hands with access to medical records, access to what healthcare really costs so people can make informed choices, and access to information about which doctors and which hospitals produce the best outcomes. There is a Health 2.0 world, I'm very well aware of that, but my point is that the two discussions about how to spend the $19 billion in healthcare IT to do electronic medical records and the discussion of Health 2.0 are not as joined as they should be. And they need to be in order to come up with a health ecosystem in which people can take more responsibility and in which empowers people. And to do that, we need to have the kind of healthcare IT infrastructure that is open and inviting to entrepreneurship and innovation, and not one that's stuck in 1985 or 1995. And I am working with some of my colleagues in the administration who believe in that and are trying in the face of huge obstacles and resistance in a very stuck ecosystem. If we can move healthcare infrastructure in a way to open it up genuinely to entrepreneurship and innovation, I think everybody would be surprised at both improvements in healthcare and bending back the cost curve. But without that, without IT reform, I'm afraid that whatever healthcare reform may get passed is actually going to be unsustainably expensive. So bottom line, I'm a kind of a Jeffersonian liberal, not libertarian. Government isn't going to go away, but it is very important that it be based on a set of ideas that are going to provide benefits to all of its citizens. And I actually think people from the tech community, through good fortune, have stumbled upon sets of ideas that work well to spur innovation, lower barriers to entry, and create artifacts of great value. We need more of those ideas in the debate and the discussion about politics and policy. Thank you so much.